It's Bobby Jean with Noodle and Rue again. This is the third installment of my Restoring a Doll's Hair tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to properly boil the hair so you're not damaging it and so you're not losing your part or any of the work that you just put into it. I am also going to teach you how to straighten your doll's hair. So I'm at the stove and I have a rapid boil. I'm going to lay out a towel and I'm going to keep this at a rapid boil. And I've chosen a smaller pot, a pot that's large enough to fit her hair in, but I don't want to dunk her whole body in here at this point. I do sterilize my dolls for 5 or 6 seconds in boiling water when I wash them, but that's not what I'm working on right now. So I just dip her in and I kind of swish her hair around. And this can be a little bit difficult to do when you have a doll with such long hair. I'm just setting her on the pot here for a quick second because I needed to grab the fork. But please don't leave your dolls unattended at the stove. I don't want you guys to have a fire or a melted doll or any fumes or anything. This is plastic and it will melt, but I'm not going to be boiling it long enough to allow it to melt. So you need to keep an eye on it. And if your children are helping with this process, please make sure that they are aware that this doll's hair does have boiling water in it and you can't just touch it because they could get burned. If your kids do want to help at this point and you have younger children, you could always give them a task to do, like get ice and a little ice water bath to put the water in. I'm personally, for this style, I'm just going to run the water under cold water at the tap because I'm going to be brushing it through at that point. But if I were doing a boil and perm, I would dunk it in ice water. Now I'm going to keep boiling this hair and it softens up a little bit each time I do it. And now plastic, before it melts, it gets softer. So I just keep it in here and I can boil her head, I can boil her body, but I'm not going to be doing any of that right now. I just want to boil her hair. And I do get her scalp a little bit, but what I'm really doing is trying to get where the curly stuff is because her hair is laying in the position that I want it to be, pretty much at the top of her head. This entire time, I am going to be eyeballing that part like a hawk because I don't want to accidentally destroy the work that I put into getting that part where I wanted it. And I'm going to do the hair that's in the back, on the sides, on the top, but I probably won't be doing it all at once because she has so much hair. So I'm going to heat up a section at a time and choose to do one side of the head and then the other. If I were going to be doing a boil and perm or a set-in style, I would kind of just let her have her entire scalp submerged for about 2 minutes. But because I'm kind of portioning this off, because she has so much hair, I'm just basically doing it about 2 minutes throughout the hair. So I'm obviously not timing this or anything. And at this point, I can feel that the hair is getting softer. In fact, if I pulled a little piece of it, it has a little teeny bit of a stretch to it. And that's because this plastic is actually softening up. It's not melting at this point, but it is softening up. So I'm going to keep combing through my hair and I am going to make sure that this part is staying exactly where I want it at all times. Once I feel like I've combed through it quite a bit and I'm pretty happy with how straight it is looking, I'm going to boil it more and make it even more straight or move on to the next section. So this process just needs to be repeated over and over again until you're getting the results that you feel like you need. At this point, this one section here is nice and straight, so I'm going to move on to the next section. And if you notice when I show you the ends, they still look a little bit snarly and damaged. And if I wanted to, I could really fix those, but I'm going to be cutting this hair. So right now I'm going to focus on the nape of the neck. Most of the dolls that I see have extremely damaged hair at the back portion of their head. So really focus on that. And then when you chill the hair, make sure that it's pressed down to the scalp tightly. Otherwise, you're going to have some weird kink back there again. So if you're going to go through this effort of doing it right, make sure you're doing not only the top of the head and what you see, but underneath right too. So if you ever choose to put it up in a ponytail or flip it over, it looks good. Okay, and I think that I'm almost done here. I'm still going to do a little bit of heating at the sink, and I'll show you how and why I do that. But just finish up any little areas that you think still have a little bit of curl to them. And I can tell easily when it's in my hand what still needs to be worked. It kind of looks like it's all a little bit wavy when it's in the water, but this is looking actually pretty good to me right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to brush it out and make sure everything is proper in the part and all of the hair is down where I want it and I haven't missed any of the sections. And once I'm happy with that, I'm going to turn off my stove and I'm just going to push her aside and I'm going to leave her in this water. And the reason why is because I want to keep the hair as hot as possible until I am able to chill it and set that at the sink. So as I go get the sink all prepared and my camera moved over, I'm just going to leave her there in that pot of boiling water. Okay, so now I'm carefully bringing this pot over to the sink. And I'm going to reserve the water, so don't just dump it all out. And as you can see, it's still really, really hot, so please be careful with your fingers. Now, like I said, don't dump out the water. You're going to need this later on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my brush, and while it's still really, really hot, I don't want to wait for the steam to come off of this. I want to do it right now while it's piping hot. I want to maintain that part first and foremost. And then I'm going to brush out the hair even more. Now remember, you're going to want to brush in the direction that you want the hair to lay, always. As this hair is cooling, and it cools pretty rapidly, it is setting, so you're not going to want to brush in the wrong direction because you're going to kind of undo some of the work that you've done. While you are doing that, make sure the part stays exactly where we made it. You don't want to move the part because it would look like that. So, a manufactured part is intended to stay where it was manufactured. You can't just relocate a part. Now I'm going to keep pulling and straightening this hair, and I kind of give it a little tug, and now I get my water on as cold as possible. And with the hair in the direction the doll would stand, I am stroking this brush through pretty hard, so I'm getting all of that hair all the way down to the nape of the neck, pulled nice and tight. I am not being delicate, and I'm trying really hard not to pull the hair away from the head as I do this. I do it directly straight down. At this point, I still do have a little bit of the coconut oil left in the hair. I have not shampooed that oil out, and the reason why is because I'm going to use that to my advantage when I cut the hair. Now take your boiling water and run a stream of constant hot water over a section of the hair. I usually do the front, and make that section go exactly in the direction you want, and then chill it again. Now I want her hair to sit off to the side and kind of just hang down, but I don't want it to hang right in her face. So I'm taking the water and I'm pouring it so there's a constant stream long enough for that water to heat that hair back up again. And then I'm going to take it while it's still hot, and I'm going to run the brush through in the direction that I want the hair to lie and pull it really, really tight once I feel like I have it there, and chill it. Now pulling it tight is going to pull those softened strands of plastic a little bit and get any little kink out that they might have. And then chilling it is setting that little kink, it's setting it so that little kink won't come back. And I'm just going to continue doing this. I don't have to do it for a long time, but I want to do it until I know it is perfectly chilled. Now, you can see a little bit of the scalp, but that's because of her hair being all gathered. If you look at the ends, you can tell they're a little gnarly looking, and if I wanted to during the boil, I could have taken it out periodically and run a brush over and over and over and just kept doing that. But because I am not maintaining this long hairstyle, I don't want to go through the effort of doing that because I'm going to just cut this off anyways. So I'm just going to keep checking and making sure everything looks perfect. And I'm going to squeeze any excess water out that I can. And at this point, I feel like she looks pretty good. So I'm just going to double check everywhere. And remember, I'm pushing really hard all the way down to the nape of the neck and the side of the ears. So every little piece of hair down, every little layer is pulled nice and tight. At this point, I can just set her in a drying rack. I like to use a bottle drying rack that I have made from Boone, but you guys probably don't have one of those, so you can set her in a cup. Anything that isn't going to interrupt the straightness of her hair. Now, if you remember, I told you I was going to be cutting this doll's hair eventually to go down to about mid-elbow shoulder area for the girl that it's supposed to look like. So instead of drying her like this, I'm going to go ahead and cut off about 1 inch or 2 right now, just really fast and jagged, just so it's easier for me to get her in a drying rack without interrupting this straight hair. Now, if you stick her in a drying rack and her hair is bent at all, it is going to stay bent. So because her hair is all the way down to her feet, I don't want it to stay like this when I stick her in the drying rack. So I'm going to show you how to properly get this just hacked off. If you guys are having trouble cutting a doll's hair, it might be because you are using the wrong kinds of scissors. Barber shears are specifically made so the hair doesn't just slide out of the blades. So you're going to want to invest in some nice scissors. Now these are some of my more expensive scissors. They actually cost me about $40, but some of them can be even like up in the hundreds. My favorite pair of scissors actually cost me $7, and I got them at a grocery store. And I don't remember the brand, but I will show you which brand it is as soon as I find them, because I have misplaced them ever since I moved my doll shop in my house. So now I have her all ready to be dried. I'm going to just make sure she's perfect. And I'm going to make sure all the hair is smoothed down. Do not let this extra hair go down your drain. I don't want you to have to call a plumber and then spend all that kind of money as you're trying to save money by rescuing dolls.